Hello everyone, this is Warm with Tacos, and welcome to a new thing on the channel that I wanted to start. In case you couldn't see from the title, this is a thing I'm going to call Stories from Sector 8, and it has a reason to the name, but I won't explain that. I'll let you all figure it out. Welcome to Stories from Sector 8. This is going to be an ideally weekly podcast, I think is what you would end up calling it. It's just going to be me talking into the microphone. It's going to be me talking about something I like a lot, which is going to be Warhammer 40k. This is Stories from Sector 8, a Warhammer 40k podcast. This is going to be ideally weekly because I usually play about one game a week, and this podcast, I hesitate to call it that, but that's really what it is. This podcast is going to focus mostly on the games that I play. That's why it's stories. This is the matches I play, and as things happen in the matches or whatever, I'll go into detail about various other things and talk about other older stories and stuff like that, and bits and pieces like that. I realize that you can hear a constant noise in the background that isn't me. That is from my air conditioning unit. Normally it's not very hearable in my videos, but because there's no music for this is just me talking into the microphone, it is kind of loud. There's nothing to drown it out. I thought about doing some music just as I record this, but I haven't really given too much thought into that. Maybe as it goes on, I'll be able to get like some takedown free background music that I can just have quietly playing, so it's not just me talking quietly or nothing. So anyways, I'm recording this on the 3rd of July. I just got a game in today a couple of hours ago, and I'm here to talk about it. But before I do that, let's talk a little bit about me. And that sounds horribly egotistical, but we're going to do some talking about me first, since this is the first video of this little podcast. I've been playing 40k, Warhammer 40k, for quite a couple of years now, probably only about 4 years. I have been playing since 4th edition. It's currently 7th edition. There's a lot of people who have been playing 40k a lot longer than me, and I know some people who have been playing a little shorter than me, so I'm mid-tier. I'm not an old player, but I'm experienced enough. I know how the game operates. I play 4 different codexes. I am a Necron player. I have over 4,000 points of Necrons. They're just not an army that I tend to touch very often. I don't play Necrons very often. I have Space Marines, specifically Black Templar. Black Templar, they're 40k is branched into codexes. Each codex is for a different army. You have Codex Necrons, Codex Eldar, Dark Eldar, you've got Orcs, Tyranids, Tau, you've got Space Marines, Codex Space Marines, and then you've got a whole bunch of separate codexes for different chapters of the Space Marine army. You've got Codex Blood Angels, Codex Dark Angels, Codex Grey Knights, Codex Space Wolves, and I think there's another one, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. There's a bunch of codexes. There's Codex Imperial Knights, Codex Imperial Guard, Codex Cerritos or Sisters of Battle. There's Codex Militus Storm Pestis or something like that. They're stormtroopers with their own separate codex, not Star Wars stormtroopers, but Imperial Guard stormtroopers. There's a Harlequin's codex. There's a whole bunch of different codexes for little subgroups. There used to be a Space Marine codex called Black Templar, and it was Codex Black Templar. They were a 4th edition codex. They never got a 5th edition codex, and when 6th edition happened, Black Templar were rolled into the primary Space Marine codex and stopped existing. So I am a Codex Space Marines player, primarily Black Templar. I also have Tau, and I have Orcs, and today is going to be a story about Orcs. I played a game today that was me playing Orcs versus Chaos Space Marines. Chaos is separated into 2 groups. There are Chaos Space Marines, which is Space Marines who have fallen to the great Chaos gods, and basically evil. And you've got Chaos Demons, which are the demons who convert them into becoming evil. Demons and Space Marines are Chaos Space Marines are two separate codexes, and they can be played entirely separately from each other. So you can have an army of demons without any Space Marines on the table. They are allies, which means you can play them together, and in some cases they do show up together, but usually it's one or the other. So today's example was just Chaos Space Marines. I took a little bit of notes, but most of this is going by memory. We played 1,000 points, which is a little under average in terms of Warhammer 40k point costs. You have your different codexes with different units inside the codexes, and each codex has a point cost. Now, it comes with a certain amount of guys and a certain amount of war gear and selectable options, and the units themselves have point costs, and buying upgrades for the units have point costs. I can't go too much into the rules in this because Warhammer 40k is like over 100 pages of rules, and one of the things we like to say around in my area is nobody knows the rules perfectly. You might be surprised that something that you thought was solid stone fact ends up being wrong. Nobody has a perfect understanding of the rules. It's very, very complicated. Warhammer 40k rule set was never designed very well, so there's a lot of things people disagree on, and a lot of things that start fights. Another joke we always say is 40k is separated into 4 phases. You've got the movement phase, the psychic phase, the shooting phase, and the assault phase. We always say there's a 5th phase called the argument phase, because there usually is. So it was Orcs versus Chaos Space Marines, with me playing as Orcs, and we made it, I don't remember how many turns. I think we made it up to turn 5. I won by tabling my opponent. Tabling means you kill everything. I killed everything that he had. We played 1,000 points. Average point game in Warhammer 40k is 1,500. So we played a little bit under average because we wanted to play kind of a short game to kind of get it done with. But even then, Warhammer 40k still takes hours. It's a long game, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. So we went, I think it was 5 turns, and I'll go and I can tell you what I brought. I had a unit of Gretchen. I had 2 units of boys, which I pulled up to 20 men. I had 2 weird boys. I had 1 war boss, and I had a unit of 5 meganobs that I put in a battle wagon. And if you know about 40k, you know all that is. This is kind of I guess you'd call it a podcast for fans. Because I'm like, it's not that I don't want to explain what all this stuff is to you. I'm just not the guy to do it, you know. And going by memory, what my opponent had is he was playing a weird army. It's called, I believe it's Heretics and Renegades is what he called it. It's another one of those tinier codexes that it comes from a company called Forge World. Warhammer 40k is created by a company called Games Workshop. Forge World is a subsidiary of Games Workshop. They work for them, and they make models and stuff for them. He was playing a codex called Heretics and Renegades, and they're not. I don't know the name of the unit, but they're like cultists, if you know what cultists are. So we're going to call them cultists. He had 3 units of cultists. He had 2 units of tactical Chaos Space Marines, which were Khorne, and he had 1 unit of possessed ones. And he had 1 unit of Heretic and Renegades, like elites. I don't know what the name of them. They're like a command squad. He was playing 2 codexes. He was playing his primary army was the Khorne Demonkin Codex, and he was playing the Heretics and Renegades as a secondary detachment ally. And it went on for a good couple of hours. It was a good competitive match. At the end of the game, when I tabled him, I had a couple of Gretchen left on the table, and I had my truck, and I had my war boss and a single meganob. I didn't have any boys left or anything like that. I ran my 20 Gretchen, or I ran 19 Gretchen and a single run herd, and I did 20 boys with 2 big shooters and a weird boy, and then I did 20 boys with 2 big shooters and a weird boy, both with knobs, boss knobs in the unit, and then I ran the 5 mega knobs and the war boss together inside the battle wagon, so they would have some extra protection to get across the table. My Gretchen actually did surprisingly well the course of this game. My Gretchen were shooting and killing his cultists, and they actually won in close combat against his command squad, just because there's 19 of them, and they bury you in a number of hits. It takes a while, but they work. Gretchen are super cheap, but I always bring Gretchen whenever I can. They're a valuable commodity to orcs. Why spend 50 points to buy a custom force field when you can spend 50 points to buy a unit of like 15 something Gretchen? And all of a sudden you've got a cover save, and you've got free Overwatch wounds. It's a very, very good unit, Gretchen are. I have my boys foot slogging across the table, and I had my Mega Knobs and my War Boss inside the battle wagon, which was going across the table. He had no vehicles. He had his possessed ones, his units of cultists, his command squad, and his 2 tactical units. How it went is, I'm trying to go by memory here to kind of explain the course of the game. My 20 boys and Weird Boy assaulted his 5 possessed ones, and over like 3 or 4 assaults, his possessed ones slowly killed all of them. There was 1 possessed one left standing, but 5 possessed ones killed 20 boys. 17 boys, 2 big shooters, a knob, and a weird boy, to get specific. But they killed a 21-man unit, 5 of them. So those guys possessed ones are badass, very strong unit. My other 20-man boy unit got annihilated slowly through time of all the different cultist units. They assaulted 1 cultist unit, killed them, then they got assaulted by 2 more cultist units. 2 of them assaulted me at once, and it was just so much wound soak that they eventually died. So that's how the other unit of 20 boys died. My 5-man unit of Mega Knobs and the War Boss went into the truck and went across the table. By turn 2, they got out and were able to assault. They assaulted the first group of tactical Space Marines and wiped them out. The Power Claws just completely chew through them. There was nothing. Then the other tactical unit decided to assault me, which is not a horrible idea. It's better to assault orcs than be assaulted by orcs. But all 5 of them, 1 of them was dead, so there were 4 of them left standing. But the 4 of them left were kitted out with Scorches, which Scorches, when you assault someone, it's a flamer template, and flamethrowers are an automatic D3 hits. So I rolled 2 5s and a 6, and the other one was a 2. So I actually got a significant number of wounds off just from the Overwatch, and I actually killed a couple of them. And then they did a lot of wounds to me. They killed 2 more Mega Knobs, and I only had a Mega Knob and a Power Claw left standing, and they immediately killed everyone who wasn't the who wasn't their leader. So immediately the 2 left standing completely changed the tide of that battle, because Power Claws are outrageous. They're one of the best things that orcs have. They're like Power Fists, but somehow better on an orc, just because orcs get more swings than Space Marines do. So yeah, I'm not sure what more I can go into. It was a fun game. Lasted a couple of hours. We went till, I'm gonna say, turn 4. My battle wagon was doing all right. It was shooting things. Trying to think of substantial moments. His possessed ones were really the only substantial moment he had. Those possessed ones did very, very well. They have to roll randomly every turn to see what kind of random effects they have, and every turn he was rolling Shred. And Shred means they get to reroll their fatal wounds. So he was doing very well with his possessed ones on his rolls. He was rolling 5s and 6s with them pretty much the entire course of the game. And any saves he was called upon to make, he basically saved. He was getting Feel No Pain on certain units across the board. He was very, very tough. Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines, I hate to say it, are better than regular Space Marines, but they're more expensive to justify it. But they get all sorts of special rules that make him really, really nice. And he was entirely Khorne. He was just Khorne, none of the other demon gods, but he was playing a Khorne Demonkin Codex, which means all he could bring was Khorne. And the heretics and renegades, to my knowledge, don't pick a deity. So they were unaligned. The psychic spells that I rolled for my weird boys weren't great. They weren't generating a lot of powers. I actually took a wound from Warpen at one point because I wasn't able to manifest a spell. I was rolling really poorly with that. I was rolling really, really poorly with my psychic spells, so that was not rolling so well for me. He didn't have any psychers, which means when I was able to successfully roll spells, it went off. But I was screwing myself more than he was. The points were 6 and 2. We were playing what's called Maelstrom, which means you randomly generate cards, and the cards tell you what your objectives are. I had 6 points to his 2 points, and then I tabled him, so the points didn't matter at that point anymore. My war boss killed his Chaos Lord, so I got Slay the Warlord. He did not. Nobody had Linebreaker. We never accounted for First Blood. Who had First Blood? Let me think. First Blood would have been me. The first unit of cultists I killed. So it would have been 72 because of First Blood, which I didn't take into effect. So yeah, 7-2, First Blood. I was rolling good with my Maelstrom cards. He wasn't. He wasn't really getting a lot. But I had a couple of bad ones too. I got like Big Game Hunter, which says kill a monstrous creature, or I think a vehicle, and of course he didn't have any of those, so that's useless. I got that horrible one that says control every objective on the board, and not happening. Especially when I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units to do so, and there's 6 objectives on the table. It's literally impossible for me. Well, no, I could split off the weird boys and the war boss, but again, it's outrageous. It's not even worth attempting at that point cost. Nobody had any reserves, which is good. I'm not a fan of reserves. I occasionally bring them, but not really. I think 40k would be a better game overall if reserves were removed from the game. I don't like reserves. It's not my style. I don't like using them. I don't like them when they're used against me, like Lords of War. I don't like Lords of War. I don't bring Lords of War. I don't want you to bring a Lord of War against me. It's actually one of my personal house rules. And as a player, I have the right to choose whether or not I'm going to play against you or not. And it's better for both players up front to decide whether they want to play against each other, because nobody's going to have fun if these two particular players just don't like each other. And one of my rules, straight up, is no Lords of War. If you're going to bring a Lord of War, I'm not going to play against you. Don't get upset about it. I'm not wasting your time by playing. Oh well, if you want to bring a Lord of War, I don't want to play against you, because Lords of War are should be a whole nother game in amongst themselves. And it used to be a game called Warhammer 40k Apocalypse, but they got rid of that because people like bringing Lords of War into regular games because they spend all this money on these big, horribly broken models that they want to play in regular games, and they do. They're able to do that now, and I don't like it. The other thing is Imperial Knights. I know Imperial Knights aren't classified as a Lord of War, but if you're going to bring one, no. I don't want you to bring Knights, and I don't want you to bring Lords of War. Go away with that. I hate that stuff. So yeah, it was an interesting game. I won this one. It's surprising. I don't usually win these. You're going to find a lot of these stories are going to be losses. I don't tend to win very often. But yeah, I almost made this up to 20 minutes. I don't know what else I can go into. I explained how every unit dealt with every unit. My Gretchen did very well. My Gretchen were making successful shots. They were making kills. The Gretchen killed 2 units, which is a lot for Gretchen. They're 67 points, the unit I brought. So it's like 67 points of killing things. Works out really well. I had two objectives that I was controlling in my deployment zone, and both of them turned out to be bombs, which was fantastic. That's sarcasm. That was really bad. I don't think my boys performed very well. Having 20 boys lose to 5 possessed ones like that was kind of a slap in the face. They didn't perform well. My other group wasn't performing well either. I'm not sure they paid for their point cost fighting those cultists, or heretics, whatever the unit is called. But the Mega Knobs definitely were smashing face. The Mega Knobs did well, and it's unusual because a lot of Orc players, Mega Knobs are one of those things where the opinion on them is sort of mixed. Some people like them, some people say they're not worth the point cost. Having the 2-up armor save helps in certain scenarios. It helped in a 1,000-point game where he didn't have much AP2. He had plasma, but and he was using the plasma on him. And that's how a couple of them dropped, but it wasn't significant enough. He was just making me roll ones, and I was rolling ones. So my war boss was not in mega armor. He was just in regular armor, but he had enough mega boys in front of him that he was not having to take any hits. He was called out in the challenge a couple of times, but he's hard enough that he wasn't getting any damage. He took a wound, but that's it. So Orcs versus Chaos Space Marines. Orcs won. So victory for the Orcs. Hooray. Wog. Etc. Etc. Thank you for listening, and hopefully there'll be another one of these next, I guess, Monday when they get uploaded. Bye.